shit out of it once it happens.
Hell, we're not doing this Kamani Vidal thing because we got actual football now. We got people who actually played, Tyler, including last night's game, man. For those who watched Ravens Chief, it was a good game to start the year, bro. No matter which side you were on, we got all the way up until the final whistle. We had football live. We had any team could win. But Ravens Chiefs, man, and I think one of the things that comes out is overreactions initially for fantasy purposes, right? One game does not determine anybody's usage, but we can start to extract a little bit of value from the game as far as our analysis on the offense, analysis on the defense. What was one of your biggest takeaways coming from the game last night? Just watching the players. Was there anybody specifically you're like, I got to change my tune on? Because obviously we saw Isaiah Likely go crazy. We saw Xavier Worthy go crazy. We saw Rashee Rice go crazy. And we had a couple of the duds out there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the one that everybody's going to want to talk about is definitely the Mark Andrews situation and kind of like what's going on there with him and Isaiah Likely. And I forget who said it. I was looking at Twitter last night and it's somebody from PFF. I forget what his name is, but and it was also
Nathan Jenke. I actually used to work for PFF.
Yes. Oh, did you really?
Yeah, back in the day.
So he does good work. Like he tracks the game and in the snaps and everything like that. And then also Andrew, the guy from the footballers,
Andy Holloway. I know him.
Andy Holloway, yes. So both those guys, they had like this. I don't even want to say it back and forth. Just Andy was looking at it, and they were saying that Mark Andrews, I think, was double or bracketed the highest rate that he's seen over the past. I want to say it was like 3 years that they said or something.
Yeah.
So, and also like. When you're watching the game, you can see what the clear game plan was for the Baltimore Ravens. They had to get the ball out of Lamar's hands really quickly in the passing game, or was Lamar just kind of playing hero ball? Because that offensive line, the middle part of that offensive line was atrocious last night.
Yes.
So looking at that, knowing that Mark is double teamed, Isaiah Likely a lot of times was just out there in the flats, caught some especially at the end of the game, had that one long touchdown reception that was just a hero ball throw in the air that just he came down with. Like, I think Isaiah Likely will be a factor as the season progresses, because I do think that this team is going to use both of these guys. So I do think it caps Mark Andrews maybe ceiling just a little bit, but I still think Mark Andrews will be fine. Do I think he's going to be the tight end one this season though? No, I thought that he could potentially be the tight end one overall at the beginning of the year. But with the emergence of Isaiah Likely, I think that just limits him slightly, but I still think he's going to be fine. I still think he's going to be a top 10 tight end in fantasy football this year, and there's much better weeks ahead. So I would not, I've seen people saying they're going to spend all their fab on Isaiah Likely. I would not be doing that. And I've seen people saying, I want to drop Mark Andrews. Do not do that. Like,
that's crazy.
Things will get better for Mark Andrews, I believe.
I think, but Mark Andrews is somewhat of a buy low candidate, just depending on the price tag that you pay. I'm not paying top 3 price for Mark Andrews, but if you can get him for value to a panicked owner who is viewing him now as a tight end outside of the top 5, for me, that is buy territory for Mark Andrews, who's going to be a top 5 to 7 tight end, just that floor based on his nature of the offense. Now, if you're worried about his role in the offense and you think that Isaiah Likely has leapfrogged him, I think that's where you have an issue. Isaiah Likely did have a strong game, and he was targeted. I know you mentioned a fluke touchdown, but there was 3 touchdown opportunities that he had. The back of the end zone last play of the game, the one where he hurt his shoulder a couple plays before that, and then also another deep ball that he just missed. So Isaiah Likely did have a lot of opportunities in this game. But like you mentioned, there were specific coverages. This is a new offensive line. And then the game plan just kind of dictated like, hey, we can get the ball to him. It was a mismatch that they exploited. So I like Isaiah Likely, but I am not this isn't like I'm not going Puka Nacua with him. I'm not going spend all your fab. This is the must pick up of the week. We have a lot of football left. He was an exciting player week 1. But this reminds me of probably what we saw to the New England Patriots when we had Rob Gronkowski, Aaron Hernandez, and I don't maybe think it's to that level, but I do see a path where both of these tight ends could be startable in 12-team formats, depending on who's available in your league, or if you have a tight end that's not performing. I think likely we'll have weeks where he's going to be a good tight end and then dud. So for me, the tight end situation wasn't as it wasn't as dire for Mark Andrews as a lot of people made it seem, but it was kind of interesting to see that. It's not a disparity anymore. It's not Mark Andrews and it likely is a backup. There's 2 starting tight ends now. They were on the field a lot together as well. Any other notes from the game yesterday, especially like on for the offensive line, before we move away from the Ravens real quick? That offensive line is in shambles. But one thing that I want to see moving forward is how is this Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry thing going to affect this Ravens team? Because it looks like they brought the reins in on that passing attack. Whereas last year they tried to open it up. This year it was Lamar running for 16 times. You have Derrick Henry almost exclusively running the football, not even he had 3 targets, but they were all overthrows. And then Justice Hill only had 1 carry yesterday. So it was mainly just we're running this thing with Lamar Jackson basically as a second running back, and Derrick Henry is the lead, but we know it's a run play pretty much when he's on the field.
Yeah, and I think also just the game dictated how they're going to operate. Like the Ravens always seem to have the ball. They were down, especially in the second half when they went down by double digits, like 10 points or whatever it was, and they got to play in like that 2-minute offense style.
Yeah.
So they were always kind of in the situation. Then the drive to end the first half, I think they had a 6-minute drive there. So 2-minute offense kind of style there as well. So like this is the problem with Derrick Henry, and just I still think that Derrick Henry is going to be fine. But like, and also you got to consider like how many more games are the Ravens truly going to be playing from behind? That should be one of the best teams in the NFL, so they should be ahead. But the problem with Derrick Henry is he's just not going to catch the ball. Like he's not going to on the season. So it's really going to be touchdown or bust. And even last night he had a touchdown, but the Ravens just weren't able to get into the offense that they really want to play in that smash mouth football because they're playing from behind. You know, it's Kansas City Chiefs. So I think better days will be ahead. I do think Justice Hill, though, is interesting because they just put Rashid Ali on IR. You have Keaton Mitchell on IR as well. Yeah, so, like, literally, it's 2 running backs. It's if anything were to happen to Derrick Henry, I mean, it's really Justice Hill. Obviously, they probably bring somebody else in, but I think that he's like a guy that I wouldn't put a claim in for, but end of the week, you have a guy goes down or just a guy's just an
he's gonna be one of those annoying guys, bro. Like a weekly low ceiling flex, bro. Like he's probably gonna be somewhere in the 8 to 12 range, but there ain't much more than that he's gonna provide. So,
but as the season progresses, like you get desperate. Like you get desperate, and I think he's one of those guys that you just keep him at the end of your bench, and there could be some games, through the buys that it gives you. And once again, Derrick Henry goes down. He's got a lot of value because there's nobody else there.
Yeah, we've seen Justice Hill in a starting role before, but we'll see how it goes with him in this usage. Obviously, they've called him a co-starter now, and they definitely showed that he's going to be a part of the game plan, whether it's 8 to 10 touches or it's catches in the passing game, somewhat of involvement there. On the Chiefs side of the ball, we definitely saw a change in the guard here, and I think this has been a Travis Kelce-led offense for so long. Rashee Rice was open at will when it came to the slot. I mean, he was playing the slot, but those slant routes literally slant and go every single time. He was open every single time. So, coming in, it was obviously what's this role between Travis Kelce and Rashee Rice? I think both of them will have their moments throughout the year, but to me, even going back towards last season, we kind of saw this changing of the guard, so to speak, where Rashee Rice is now the main threat, the intermediate of the field. So, I took that as my biggest takeaway is, look, maybe I don't know if I have Rashee Rice as like a top 15 guy, but I think he definitely belongs in the wide receiver 2 conversation. Yeah. I don't know about top 15 because I think his upside somewhat limited in this offense.
I was always a big fan of Rashee Rice heading into the season. I've been very vocal, even like months ago. I'm not going to victory lap this yet. We still have a lot of football to go, a lot of football, but I do think it's interesting with Travis Kelce. I honestly think Travis Kelce may be even like, I don't even want to say a buy low kind of guy. I still think that Travis Kelce is going to have plenty of games.
You think he's buy low?
I would still buy in. Like Travis Kelce was still very good last season, even in the playoffs, when the game was on the line last year. I just think that this is the first game of the season. These teams kind of knew what the other team was going to do, and they had specific game plans. Like it was very clear that when Rashee Rice gets matched up on the linebacker in the slot, they're doing that slant and go, and they're targeting him a lot because he's cooking them. He absolutely cooked them last night in that. And I think there's going to be other games where Travis Kelce will get it. I don't think Travis Kelce is going to ever be the Travis Kelce of old, where he's, having 18 fantasy points per game, but I still think that he can be in the 14 fantasy points per game, tight end 1 overall range, because also this team, it was one of the best defenses in the NFL. I want to say Patrick Mahomes, did he have 1 passing touchdown on the night? I think to Xavier Worthy.
Worthy, yeah.
Yeah, that was it. So,
No, he had
and
2.
he's
I thought it was 2. He had 2. Maybe I'm tripping. It was 1 to
Worthy had
Worthy.
2, but the one I think was technically a pitch. I don't think he actually
Oh,
threw
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
pass.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was a run. So I just think better days will be ahead for Travis Kelce. I'm not panicking on him either, but I do think like middle of the field, intermediate. I think Rashee Rice is going to dominate. He dominated there last year, and I think that he really does have back end wide receiver 1 upside this year. I think he's going to be fantastic.
So now the other part of that is, obviously, if you're going to panic on one of these 2 tight ends, Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce. To me, the panic meter, the only thing is with Travis Kelce, I can see that being a panic meter type thing where if he's just not involved as consistently in this offense, now you kind of got to tear him down like George Kittle level because we know he has the elite upside any given week, but just the consistency factor. This team doesn't need him like they did a couple years ago with all the weapons, especially once Hollywood Brown gets back. So with new weapon Worthy on the field, he was going. I mean, obviously, like explosive plays are coming with this guy, and we will have Tyler. We will have one of those games this year with Worthy where we're talking about a 40-point game with him. It's bound to happen. Like
absolutely,
you can see the explosion with the run game. He would have took that thing for 95 yards. The run play that he had, and then he was blown. Blown coverages are going to happen, and if they do with him, it's tops off. So to me, that was pretty like that was fun to watch. Like Xavier Worthy and that speed, he looks like he's going to be a threat. Was there any other takeaways on the Chiefs side that you had, man?
I guess just Isaiah Pacheco was like clearly an absolute bell cow in this offense. I know that like they signed Samaje Perine. I still personally think Samaje Perine will get some work in. And I think he'll be the clear cut number 2 in this offense behind behind Isaiah Pacheco. But like Isaiah Pacheco, it wasn't a great, I wouldn't say it was a good game for sure. It wasn't a great game just because it's Baltimore. Like this is one of the stingiest defenses in the NFL. So the game would probably have been a lot better had it not been Baltimore. So I think if you drafted Isaiah Pacheco, I mean, he's a guy who is really probably a back end RB1 for the rest of the season in an absolute bell cow role.
I don't know about RB1. I think we'll have to disagree on that one. I got him more like high end to mid tier RB2. I just think with the touch, he's going to get touches. Does he have the splash play? He don't really have like game breakaway speed. So that's the one thing I worry about with him is like, he's going to see a lot of touches. I just don't see a whole lot of huge gains, which you kind of need. He'll have opportunities though, so I don't want to knock him too much. He had a good game. Let's move on, man. Let's move on. And obviously, those are the games we've seen that game happen. Now we have to talk about.
Wait, let me ask you one question.
Go ahead.
Mark Andrews or Evan Ingram?
Andrews still.
Andrews still. So it's
Andrews still.
Andrews or so. What is he like? Andrews or Kittle?
They're the same to me. They're the same.
So what is he like? Tight end 5 then? You'd say?
Yeah, he's like mid tight end 1. Mid tight end 1. And I had him at tight end 4 or 5 to start anyway. So
is that where you're going to put Kelce?
Yeah, same area as Kelce. There's 2 players I'm watching this weekend. That'll determine if they deserve to be top 5 or if they have moved down. And that's Dalton Kincaid, Kyle Pitts. If those 2 players show that they are more involved in the offense, I'm going to tear down Kelce and Andrews into that Kittle territory, and I'm going to move those 2 up. But if not, then they're kind of all. I've had these guys all in a bunch, really. McBride, Laporta are kind of like the clear outliers. I thought Kelce was in that tier, but he's lower. Kelce, Andrews, Kittle, Pitts, and Kincaid, they all got kind of question marks to me in their roles in the offense. So that's where I'm at on the tight ends. What about you? You kind of around the same there?
Yeah, I would agree. I think if like you said, Kyle Pitts, and also I don't want to overreact. I mean, geez, like Kelce could go out next week and he could have 7 catches for $110. Like that would not shock me at all. Like he could definitely do that. But if Kyle Pitts and like Dalton Kincaid go out there and they do ball out, and really those 2 guys could be big parts of their offense moving forward, I do agree that maybe they do jump those guys. Have definitely potential to jump those guys for the rest of the season, if that's the case week 1.
It's name value, man. Name value. Kelce and Andrews. It's name value. And it's tough to let off the name value, but it's also tough to count out those guys going into the year.